All right, so we last week did an artist spotlight.
We did.
Yeah, and we got to talk about Fold, which is Seth's band, and that was incredible.
We forgot to play any music, which is quite funny since we're a label.
Your fault. I'm looking at you, Seth, and going, it's all your fault.
I was emotional.
Oh.
You're always emotional.
Now you're just bullying him.
Yeah, I know. Fuck it. So, but we were sent some music by a band called Drella.
Yes.
Who are from Bradford.
That's Drella.
It is indeed. And they have a brand new single coming out on Friday, the 22nd of March.
Day after the gig.
And it's called Guillotine. This is absolutely in our wheelhouse as a track, because basically it's taking a swing at the system. Shall we play a little bit of music so you guys can have a little taste of what it sounds like?
That'd be good.
Sacrifice, I'll pay the price. But still I stay here when you call it all the things you read, the only cuts you really need is what you said on the guillotine.
So that's a little clip from Guillotine by Drella, which is out on the 22nd of March. And they are our spotlight today. What do we all think of that? Obviously, we've had a listen. We haven't just listened to like 30 seconds. We listened to it before the show. What thoughts?
I mean, it's totally within our wheelhouse in terms of how politically motivated we all are. I love the track. It's giving me kind of Bob Vylan, He's a Man vibes. I just think it's a great track to sort of like, I kind of want to headbang to it, you know?
Yeah, it's got that kind of jump up and vibe, which is, I think, it's a grow as well, because it's about the fourth time I've heard it now, and every time I hear it, I go, no, I really like this.
Yeah.
First I was like, yeah, it's pretty good, and now I'm like, oh no, this is great. It's got that kind of like, that guillotine line and stuff is just so like full catchy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of the early 80s British punk wave and, like Subhumans and Crass. I grew up listening to that shit. I had all that. My brother had it on vinyl. It's got that same kind of energy, and I like the fact that lyrically it's not nihilistic. It's actually quite empowering. It's saying, we need to fucking kill all the rich people, basically.
Eat the rich.
But that expresses a very valid sentiment.
Yeah, it's definitely a call to action song, isn't it?
Yeah, very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's and it kind of I think sometimes you said it was kind of on the nose, which is, can you explain what you mean by that? Like,
that's been used, I think that's been levied at Fold as a criticism. And it's not necessarily a criticism. It's really just an observation that the language is, it's accessible. It'll be easy to understand for a much wider audience than some of the more
convoluted
dense words in lyrics. I mean, at least, and also you can understand what they're saying, which helps. They're articulating clearly. But yeah, on the nose, it means it's accessible language. It's not too dense. It's not too hoity-toity.
And like when we say on the nose as well, it's like it feels like a backhanded compliment, but it's absolutely not, because I think
telling it like it is.
Yeah.
And I think all the great, sort of especially from the punk era, that kind of stuff was like direct. It wasn't like we're trying to kind of dress up our protesting in coded language, or there's no subversion going on. It's just absolutely like a sledgehammer through the wall, right? And that's kind of the joy of it, and it really embraces that musically as well. In the music, it's not trying to be subtle. It's absolutely like someone kicking down a door, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And now is kind of the time for that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you think about you think about someone like Public Enemy, which was my first access to kind of political music, like that. Like it wasn't subtle a lot. Fight the Power is not a subtle. Don't Believe the Hype is not subtle. And yeah, there was layers in it, and and there was great references and all that stuff. But it was a call to arms, right? Fight the Power. It was direct call to arms, and I think that's the great thing about kind of music in this vein, is that it's unifying, right? It's it's a reminder that you're not by yourself. And you want to be part of something that's, rather than this kind of like, well, we're all a bit fucked and just, sit and kind of be nihilistic. It's like, no, we need to go and kick some shit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
I think I said this before about history kind of repeating itself in terms of what the people want from art. Like if we look back at Shakespearean times, we had the Elizabethan era that was all like, escapism, Midsummer Night's Dream.
Witches. Yeah.
You talking shit about witches?
Sorry, no.
And then we kind of entered into the Jacobean era where everything got
Yeah.
dark as fuck.
I'm going to burn down a nunnery
Yep.
with nuns in it.
And that was an actual play.
That was Faust
But
by Marlowe.
What was
But that
what
was
was
the
the
thing.
time period for those? Just roughly. Are we talking like
Like 1600s,
Yeah.
Yeah.
1600s and 1700s, yeah.
But
Yeah.
the thing is that what the people wanted changed. They didn't want to escape into art anymore. They wanted the art to reflect the corruption that was happening in the highest levels of society with the most powerful people who were making decisions that were affecting the common population's lives. And I feel like that's what we're seeing now on a mass scale is people sort of realizing that people going out of the escapism era and falling more into the realism. They want to hear and see what is going wrong right now so they can get angry about it and do something about it. And rightfully so. And anger gets a bad rap.
Yep. No,
Anger is an energy, to
Yep.
quote
Anger is an
PIL.
energy.
Yeah.
Anger is a sense that something is wrong and it's the fuel that you feel like you need to do something about it.
Yep, absolutely. No, that is spot on. The world really is shaped by stories. The way people think, the way people understand reality is shaped by stories. And our stories have been collectively hijacked by capitalism,
Mm.
by those, by the elite powers who rule everything. And we need to reclaim those stories. We need to amplify those perspectives that show things for how they truly are.
And the thing is as well is like, it's still entertainment, right? It's not it's because we talk about, when we say political music, I think people think kind of very solemn and it all been very po-faced and very sort of like, oh yeah, worthy, and you're getting told off a bit. And and I've there are definitely acts like that, and I've heard acts like that. I remember like that being really levied at like disposable heroes of hypocrisy, which sometimes felt like a chore to listen to.
Yeah.
It was like I just feel like I'm being told off, and that just makes me want to go and like do the opposite. And where with music like this and Fold as well, like it's still like really accessible. It's still fucking great. It's still really engaging. It makes you feel fired up, and when you feel uplifted, that's when you feel powerful, right?
Mhm.
You have to win hearts and minds. You can't just beat people over the head. That's that's always been our sort of underlying thinking behind Fold. It's you have to offer something,
Yeah.
and draw people in. Whether it's like it's big smashy fun energy like this one, or if it's something more reflective.
Yeah, because you can still like, this is great fun as a record. Like it's pretty,
Oh, hell yeah.
But it's also taking like pot shots at Maggie Thatcher and and those historical figures who are are still part of the narrative of certainly of the UK today, in terms of like how we're feeling, like it's the miners' strikes 40th anniversary, in terms of when it started today on this very day, and like those figures, it feels like, why are you taking shots at Margaret Thatcher? She's dead. It's like, because those decisions loom large in this generation's world, like those decisions to shut down communities, because that's what they did by shutting down the pits and offering no alternative to in terms of employment.
Yep.
Entire communities built around an industry and then shutting those down.
And vilifying protesters and
yes,
stifling
Yeah.
dissent.
To
And
stifle,
we're seeing the same shit.
And we're
over
seeing it again. And that's when it started. We started the them and us sort of situation, rather than people's right to protest and right to talk about it. And, this feels like protest music.
Yep.
It absolutely does. Yeah. This definitely makes me want to go out and march.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, but also like fucking get in a mosh pit as well. And
It does make me
like-
want to mosh, yeah. Mosh and march.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That sounds like We should. That sounds like something, right?
That sounds like something we should
Subtext,
do.
sub-label.
Subtext Mosh and March. Yeah, we should like a punk label or something. Or maybe we'll have a discussion about
Yeah,
that.
that's going to have to be another. We'll table that.
Okay, we've all got that right. Mosh. By the way, we're copywriting it though. You know, in the full capitalist way.
Oh yeah,
that's how.
Mosh and March TM.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sending that in, Drella. Just to remind you that single which we listened to when we've been talking about is Guillotine. That is out on the March 22nd. They're also playing a headline show at the Underground in Bradford on the 23rd of March, doors 7 p.m. and tickets are selling. Please buy tickets in advance.
Please buy tickets
do.
for their gig in advance.
And
so
Underground. Hey, if you're listening, you're on our radar. We wanna play at you.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, there you go.
I wasn't sure how you were going to phrase that. I thought you were going to say we want to play in you, and then that also sounded wrong. And
Yeah. I mean, it's all got a bit.
we want to play at you sounds like we're going to
We're gonna
stand
play-
in front of the management and like drum our guitars at them.
Serenade you in the middle of the fucking
Yeah.
night.
He's just trying to have his cereal in the morning, and we're standing at his window like.
We're playing. So yeah, please do go check out Drella. That's Drella, and that's they're on all the usuals. But thanks so much for sending it. If you want your music discussed in this very educated manner, then please do send it in to info@subtext with no e .co.uk.
By three very qualified musicians
Yeah,
who are.
I think the link's in the description of the podcast. Also, if you didn't,
Yeah.
if you can't memorize shit, then
That's fair enough. Are we all losing that e, by the way, in subtext?
hell no.
No, you know what? It makes it more fun to describe. My favorite is when I say, "Oh, it's subtext," but without the e, and they go, "Why?" And I go, "Because e's suck." I don't know. We fucking hate e's.
Fuck you. Yeah, this is our form of protest.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We don't know what we're protesting, but we are.
Eton. We're
doing
protesting against Eton.
Yes, Eton.
See what I did
We're gonna
there?
go with that. Cut everything else. We're gonna go back and say that this was the plan all along.
Yeah, it wasn't just because we like to abbreviate things.
No, not at all.